Tomorrow morning, you'll probably make hundreds of decisions. What to eat, what to buy, what to wear, what to watch, what to click. Simple decisions. Or at least, that's what you think. Because what if I told you that many of those decisions were influenced long before you ever made them? Why is the milk almost always at the back of the supermarket? Why does Netflix never seem to ask if you're finished watching? Why do airports make you walk past dozens of shops before you even reach your gate? And why is the accept all button always so much easier to find than reject all? At first, they seem like completely unrelated things. A supermarket, an airport, a phone, a restaurant, a website. But they all share one disturbing secret. None of them were designed simply for convenience. They were designed to influence your behavior, not by forcing you, not by threatening you, not even by convincing you, but by quietly making one choice feel easier than every other. And that's exactly what makes it so difficult to notice. Because the most powerful form of control rarely feels like control. It feels like freedom. Today, we're going to uncover 25 everyday things that secretly shape your decisions without you ever realizing it. And by the end of this video, you'll probably never walk into a supermarket, unlock your phone, or even order dinner the same way again. Let's start with one of the most ordinary things you'll probably do this week. Buying milk. Sounds ridiculous, right? How could something as simple as milk have anything to do with controlling your behavior? Well, next time you walk into a supermarket, don't look at the shelves, look at the journey, because there's a reason. The milk is almost never waiting for you near the entrance. Instead, it's usually tucked away at the very back of the store. At first, it seems inconvenient. But that's exactly the point. Milk is one of the few things people almost always come to buy. If supermarkets placed it near the entrance, you'd grab it, pay, and leave. Great for you, terrible for business. So instead, they make you walk past the fresh bakery where the smell of warm bread isn't there by accident, past colorful fruit displays that make the store feel fresher than it actually is, past promotional aisles screaming, limited offer, past dozens of products you had absolutely no intention of buying when you first walked in. Every extra step is another opportunity for your brain to notice something, and the more things you notice, the more likely you are to buy something you never planned to. In fact, supermarkets spend millions of dollars studying something surprisingly simple, not what you buy, but the route you take before buying it, because every additional minute you spend inside the store increases the chances that you'll leave with more than you came for. But here's what's even stranger. Even after successfully guiding you through the entire store, they're still not finished influencing your decisions. Take a look at your shopping cart. Have you ever wondered why it feels so oversized? Decades ago, shopping carts were much smaller. Today, many of them are big enough to make a normal grocery run look almost unfinished. And that matters, because a half-empty cart doesn't feel satisfying. Your brain sees all that empty space and quietly starts thinking, maybe I should grab a few more things. Nobody tells you to buy more. Nobody follows you around the store. The cart simply creates the feeling that your shopping isn't complete yet. But the cart is only one part of the trap. Look at the shelves. The most profitable products are rarely placed randomly. They're placed where your eyes naturally land first, eye level. Because in a supermarket, attention is real estate. The top shelf may have something cheaper. The bottom shelf may have something better. But if your eyes don't go there, your hand probably won't either. And just when you think the store has finished influencing you, you reach the checkout. Your shopping is done. Your decisions are over. Or at least, that's what it feels like. But look around. The next time you're waiting in line, chocolate bars, chewing gum, cold drinks, tiny snacks, small toys. None of these items require deep thought. And that's exactly why they're there. By the time you reach the checkout, your brain has already made dozens of tiny decisions. Which brand? Which flavor? Which size? Which offer? So when a chocolate bar appears right beside you, your brain doesn't treat it like a major purchase. It treats it like a reward. Just one small thing, one harmless add-on, one final little yes, and that tiny yes, multiplied by thousands of customers every single day, turns the checkout lane into one of the most profitable places in the entire store. But supermarkets are only the beginning, because the exact same trick continues the moment you sit down at a restaurant. The menu in your hand isn't just a list of food. It's a map for your eyes. Some dishes are boxed. Some are given fancy descriptions. Some are placed exactly where your eyes naturally pause. And then there are the expensive dishes, not because the restaurant expects everyone to order them, but because they make the other expensive dishes look reasonable. That's called a decoy. One overpriced option quietly changes the way every other option feels. Suddenly, the dish you would normally call expensive starts looking like the smart choice. But restaurants don't stop at the menu. Look at the plate. It might sound ridiculous, but simply changing the size of a plate can change how much you eat. When food is served on a larger plate, the exact same portion looks smaller. Your brain quietly thinks, that doesn't look like enough. So, you serve yourself more. Psychologists call this the Delboeuf illusion. Our perception of quantity changes depending on what surrounds it. The food hasn't changed. Your appetite hasn't changed. Only the plate has. And somehow, that changes your decision. Then, there's the music. Ever noticed how expensive restaurants usually play slow, relaxing music? That's because slower music encourages people to slow down. You stay longer, order another drink, maybe even dessert. Fast food restaurants often do the exact opposite. Brighter lights, faster music, less comfort. Not because they don't care about your experience, but because they want tables to free up quickly. The faster you leave, the faster the next customer sits down. The food may be different. The business model isn't. But if there's one place that has mastered the art of controlling how you move, it's IKEA. Think about the last time you visited one. Did you notice something missing? Windows, straight paths, easy shortcuts. Instead, you're guided through one carefully designed route, past living rooms, past bedrooms, past kitchens, past offices, and hundreds of products you never came to buy. This isn't an accident. In fact, there's even a name for part of this phenomenon: the IKEA effect. It describes our tendency to value something more simply because we've invested effort into it. But long before you assemble that furniture at home, the store itself has already invested your effort. Every extra step, every extra turn, every extra minute makes the experience feel more personal. The longer you walk, the more familiar everything becomes. And the more familiar something feels, the more likely you are to trust it. Before you know it, that simple trip to buy a bookshelf somehow ends with scented candles, new cushions, kitchen containers, and a plant you definitely didn't plan on buying. By now, one thing should be becoming clear. None of these places are forcing you to spend money. They're simply making certain choices feel more natural than others. But here's where things become even more interesting. Everything we've talked about so far only works while you're inside the building. The moment you walk out, its influence ends. Your phone doesn't have that limitation. In fact, your phone doesn't wait for you to enter a store. It follows you everywhere. And unlike a supermarket, it doesn't just react to your behavior. It learns from it. Have you ever picked up your phone for just a minute, only to look up and realize 30 minutes had disappeared? That isn't because you have poor self-control. It's because many of the apps you use were never designed to help you leave. Take infinite scroll. It sounds like a simple feature. Just keep swiping. But before infinite scroll existed, every website had something your brain desperately needed. An ending. You reached the bottom of the page, finished an article, completed a task. Your brain received a natural signal that it was time to stop. Infinite scroll quietly removed that signal. Now, there's always one more video, one more post, one more meme, one more headline. Your brain never receives permission to leave. And that's exactly why you keep scrolling. But even infinite scroll isn't the smartest trick, because every time you're about to stop, another feature quietly takes over. Autoplay. Think about Netflix or YouTube. An episode ends. A countdown appears. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before your brain has enough time to ask, do I actually want to watch another one? The next episode has already begun. The decision was never removed. It was simply made inconvenient. Stopping now requires effort. Continuing requires nothing. And human beings almost always choose the path of least resistance. Then come the notifications. Have you noticed how they never seem to arrive all at once? Instead, they appear throughout the day. One message, then another. A like, a comment, a breaking news alert, a sale, a reminder. Each one feels insignificant on its own, but together they constantly interrupt whatever your brain was focusing on. And there's a reason so many of them are red. Red is one of the hardest colors for the human brain to ignore. For thousands of years, it has been associated with danger, urgency, and immediate attention. Today, your phone uses that very same color, not to warn you about predators, but to make sure you don't ignore a new notification. Even those tiny typing bubbles in your messaging app aren't as innocent as they seem. The moment you see someone typing, your brain starts waiting. You hesitate before putting your phone away. You stay just a little longer. One tiny design choice, keeping millions of people engaged for millions of extra minutes every single day. And here's the most fascinating part. Your phone isn't trying to keep you addicted to one app. Every app is fighting the exact same battle, the battle for your attention. And attention has quietly become one of the most valuable resources on Earth. That's why every app is constantly trying to answer one simple question. How do we keep you here? just a little longer? The answer isn't always better content. Sometimes it's simply better predictions. Open YouTube, Netflix, Instagram, Amazon, Spotify. Within seconds, they're already suggesting what you should watch, what you should buy, what you should listen to, or what you should read next. At first, it feels helpful, almost magical, like the app somehow understands you. But here's the strange part. It doesn't actually know you. It knows your patterns, what you click, what you ignore, how long you watch, when you stop, what you search at midnight, what brings you back the next morning. Every swipe, every pause, every click teaches the algorithm a little more about you, until one day it starts predicting your next decision before you've even made it. And the more accurate those predictions become, the less you have to think. Choice slowly turns into habit. Habit slowly turns into routine. And routine is incredibly difficult to break. But perhaps the smartest trick of all doesn't happen on social media. It happens on almost every website you visit. Think about the last time a website asked for permission to use cookies. Did you carefully read every option? Probably not, because one button was bright, large, and almost impossible to miss. Accept all. Meanwhile, the option to reject them was usually smaller, hidden or buried behind another menu. Technically, you still had a choice, but one choice required a single click. The other required 5. That tiny difference changes millions of decisions every single day. Designers have a name for this. They're called dark patterns, interfaces that don't remove your freedom. They simply make one option feel much easier than the others. The same thing happens when you sign up for a free trial. Starting takes about 10 seconds. Canceling often takes 10 minutes. Finding the cancellation page, confirming your password, answering why you're leaving, clicking through one last special offer, then another confirmation. Nothing actually stops you from leaving. It just becomes exhausting enough that many people think, I'll do it later, and later almost never comes. Then there are countdown timers. Only 2 hours left. Just 3 seats remaining. Sale ends tonight. Sometimes those messages are genuine. Sometimes they're simply designed to make you feel that waiting is dangerous. Because when people believe they're about to lose something, they stop thinking carefully. Psychologists call this loss aversion. We fear missing out more than we enjoy gaining something new. So instead of asking, do I actually need this? Your brain quietly asks, what if I miss this forever? And sometimes that's all it takes. But companies discovered something even more powerful than making you afraid of missing out, making you feel like you're already invested. Think about loyalty points, coffee stamps, airline miles, reward cards. On the surface, they look like gifts, but they're actually commitments. The moment you've collected a few points, starting over somewhere else suddenly feels like losing something you've already earned, even if another store is cheaper or better. Your brain quietly whispers, I've already come this far. Psychologists call this the sunk cost effect. The more time, money, or effort you've already invested, the harder it becomes to walk away. And once you notice it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Have you ever added one extra item to your online cart just to get free shipping? Maybe you only wanted to spend 700 rupees, but free shipping started at 999 rupees. So instead of paying 80 rupees for delivery, you spent another 300 rupees on something you never planned to buy. It feels like you saved money, when in reality, you spent more, because paying for shipping feels like a loss. Buying another product feels like a reward. The numbers may not make sense, but your brain doesn't compare numbers. First, it compares emotions. Even contactless payments quietly change how you spend. Years ago, buying something meant opening your wallet, counting cash, and physically handing money to someone else. You literally watched your money leave your hands. Today, one tap, one beep, done. The transaction feels almost invisible. Researchers have found that the less pain we feel while paying, the easier it becomes to spend. Cash forces your brain to notice the cost. Digital payments remove much of that friction. Convenience doesn't just save time, it changes behavior. And when you put all of these examples together, something remarkable starts to appear. Supermarkets, restaurants, websites, apps, online stores, none of them know each other, none of them work together. Yet somehow, they all use the exact same strategy, not because someone gave them the same rulebook, but because they all discovered the same truth. If you make one option just a little easier, most people will naturally choose it. And that's the real secret. The world around you isn't built to control you through force. It's built to guide you through design. Every path, every button, every notification, every countdown, every recommendation, quietly asking you to make one choice instead of another. Tomorrow, you'll probably open your phone, walk through a supermarket, order food, maybe buy something online. Nothing about those places will have changed. But something about you will, because once you notice the invisible design behind everyday life, it's almost impossible to stop seeing it.